Hello and welcome back to the Refined Teenage Perspective. My name is Aryan Goshalia and I'm joined by Veer Sandhu and Jawar Ali.
Hello.
Hello.
So this is episode 7 of the podcast, and today we're going to be talking about languages. And a part of like the subtopics of basically our main topic is going to be formed around two things. The first thing is languages, and the second thing is accents. So we're going to be talking about how like language is formed and how accents were formed off of that. So
Yeah,
yeah, I guess we
basically
should
like
just
that in
begin.
general, but let's first basically go over how languages were formed. And Aryan, I think you can go over the analogy you gave the other, I don't know, the
Right.
other day, but yeah, you can just
So
explain that first.
right. So basically the way I was taught how okay, back in grade I think it was like grade 5. I know it was elementary school. But back in grade 5, my teacher some kid asked a question about like languages and why there's so many languages and why they have to make everything so complicated,
Yeah,
right? And my teacher basically told him this. It started with I don't really know where it started, but we're just gonna say, for example, it's cavemen, right? Let's just say cavemen started it, right? They see, I don't know, like fire or rock, and they want to go tell their cavemen friends that, oh look, there's a rock over there or something. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So they'll make a certain like significant sound, or I don't know,
Yeah,
or grunt or something like that.
that
They'll
that's
go, yeah, I don't know. I'm not gonna make
no,
any
no, no,
weird
that's
noises,
actually
but
correct. Yeah.
yeah. So
that's
they'll
basically
make,
right.
yeah. So they'll make a sound or some kind of noise to symbolize, oh, there's, I don't know, a rock over there, or there's a like fire over here, whatever, right? And as time went on, those sounds, they realize that when you, I don't know, if you pitch certain, not pitch certain sounds, but when you kind of make a couple of different sounds together, you form like different letters, and then from letters you get words, and from words you get sentences, and that happened over like thousands of years, right? But
Yeah.
Hmm.
essentially it started with that, and over time language became more structured, where we started with, I don't know, fire meaning to now fire meaning the word fire.
Yeah.
And that's, yeah, that's basically it.
It's basically like the structure of languages got like more developed as time went on. Like again, like you said,
Exactly.
before it was grunts. Now there's like different letters of the alphabet, and those letters are combined to make the word F-I-R-E, fire, instead of just one sound. And
Hmm.
it is because our voice box is fairly complex, so we can make a lot of different noises, and singers pitch their voices higher and lower to make melodies and stuff. But we can act like languages have come a really far way, and if there's like so many languages that humans have created, it's basically like impossible to be fluent in all of them. But then it
Hmm.
begs the question, why do we create so many languages? Why don't we just have one? And let's just say that, just for simplicity's sake, like because of like technology and everything, everyone can basically work from wherever, and different corporations from different countries can work together. It would make sense. Oh, why don't we all just use one language? But the thing is, the languages also have like cultural preservation inside them, and you don't want to kill that off either. And that's
And
a big reason why there are like so many languages still today.
yeah, and the way like other languages are formed off of that is like it mainly has to do with like time and basically kind of like distance. So groups of people who speak a common language, they'll like, I don't know, like there's some people at island number 1 and some people island number 2. It kind of just like, how do I explain it? They're like, the way they talk kind of evolves because they're like, how
You
do,
could
how
say
do,
like they're
how would
making
you
new grunt
explain it?
noises. They're
Exactly.
expanding their vocabulary and
It's
things like
like
that.
in your friend group, you'd have different like vocabulary to
Like
describe different
slang.
things. Yeah,
Yeah,
like slang, basically, right?
Local
And the
dialects.
same thing ends up working that way. So you create those, so those two different groups of people end up creating two like distinct but similar languages. And as those groups of people gets more and more split up, more and more languages get created.
exactly.
And now we're in a place where we have one too many languages. I'm not sure how many there are, but there's a lot.
Thousands.
And yeah, so, and honestly, anyone really can create a language. All you have to do is
Language is really just a
just,
system of like sounds that can be corresponded to things that we can write down textually. like okay, so language is basically made up of like from two senses, oral, like, and your, okay, no, that's a bad way of, yeah, oral and like reading it, so you can see it and you
Yeah,
can
sure.
hear it. And that's basically how we interpret language and how it should be interpreted for, well, our organs, I mean, like our base senses and organ set. And that's the structure of any language. A language is really just a code that is used to communicate whatever you need. And obviously, when humanity was at its development of civilization, like at its early stages, obviously, the most important part was be able to communicate in order. And that's why humans developed so and so big brains, because they needed to be able to hold information for long amounts of time.
Yeah,
And
and
I zoned out there
uh,
for a second. Yeah.
yeah, but basically, in reality, so like as I was saying before, you can really create your own language, right? All you really need to do is, well, I guess honestly, you can make a language out of anything, really. I don't know
Yeah, I
what you
guess.
would. I don't know what I'm saying. Like, okay, so I wouldn't really know what to do,
Literally, you
but
could make a picture, like,
yeah, you can
And
make a
yeah, yeah,
language out of
pictures could be your
like
alphabet, and technically alphabet
exactly
is like the
that,
alphabet
and
is
that is an
pictures,
alphabet.
but
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, well,
technically
yeah,
they
but
are.
Some
if we're
letters
talking
came from
like
like
more literally,
drawings,
yeah, like if we're talking about more literally, I think it's the Egyptians, right? The Egyptians use
hieroglyphics.
like
Hieroglyphics.
My bad.
hieroglyphics,
Yeah.
yeah, which is basically just pictures.
Yeah,
And
kind
And
of.
then
yeah,
because we got more advanced, like there's so like yes, you can make pictures
They're
unique,
not
but
as
it's more
efficient.
simple if you
Yeah.
make like a set of like yeah, it is more efficient to have a set of alphabet, like an alphabet, and you use that alphabet to further build on things. And a lot of people like if you look at all like the Roman languages, like for example like English, German, Spanish, and French, they all have the Roman alphabet. But in again, if you go to like parts of Asia and even other parts of Europe, like East Europe, like the like things like Russia, things like that, their alphabet is completely different, and that comes from again, like Arian said, like if two different islands as they spread apart, they kind of make their own cultural identity and make their own like
It's kind of just like
tendencies and
numbers
then
too.
follow it.
There's a
Yeah,
reason.
a lot of like English is kind of or like not English, but like language arts in school, like its name, it's considered an art, but it's tech. You can also like look at it in a very like mathematical or scientific way because it's
Structural
just
way.
like a
Yeah.
set of rules or like a code that you follow and just use that code to make different things. It's much more like straightforward. But then again, then it comes to like not just communicating it, but communicating it in a creative way. That's where the art comes into it. But just the
Yeah.
basic grammar and communication part is very mathematical.
yeah, and what I was trying to say earlier is basically you can make a language out of just random noise, and technically that's what language is, right?
It
Like just the
is.
oral
That
part of it.
really all it
It's just
is.
That's what animals think it is too. It's just random noises, and
yeah.
there's it as well.
Do you guys
A
think
language.
animals can communicate with each other?
They do
They
communicate,
do
but they don't
communicate.
have
Yeah.
like a sophisticated language as we do. But
Yeah, but do you
they
think
do
like if a
communicate in
dog,
different
do you
ways.
think like if a dog barks, another dog will understand it?
Yeah.
I don't think it's not like what we say. Like
It's
a
somewhat like
bark in
that.
this pitch is like means this, but they kind of
I
use
think they use
barks to
kind of
express their
context.
emotion. Yeah, it's
They
kind
may
of
use
like that.
context
Like
if they want to. And yeah, like if you're, for example, like from a specific, I guess, like a dog pack, right? Then they'd be used to all the specific notions of what that family does. Like, for example, like if if just, I'm just saying this because conventionally, in a like for dogs, it's probably that
mhm,
like the male is like going hunting. So like let's say a new dog pup, a pup is born, right? And he's born male, and he has to be raised to hunt, right? Obviously, his language and the way his communication is oriented is going to be, well, like hunting oriented, right? As opposed to maybe
yeah.
his sister, who would be like just like, I don't know, like, because never mind, I don't want to get, because whatever, I don't want to say anything, but uh yeah, like,
Yeah, I understand what you mean. They're different, and even today, like if you look at even different people, like again the genders, but also like as you progress through your life, your vocabulary becomes different, and you can relate that to like how different like I don't know classes of dogs. I don't know what you would call
yeah,
them,
like,
but
yeah, I
like
know what you're saying, like,
but like each dog class would
They
have
don't
like
really
a
have a
different way of
hierarchy in
speaking.
dogs though.
It's
Like
just like a it's kind of they're kind of like a team and they all do different stuff.
yeah,
But
it's
like
just
if you're in
roles.
if you're in this if you have a certain role, your vocabulary will be different than someone in another role.
Exactly.
Just
That's
like
what
we
I
have
was trying to
today.
say.
Like the vocabulary is different. Even if you go like every single community will have even if they speak the same language. Like if you go to from one high school to another, the vocabulary and like slang would be very different. And again, that comes from like the culture and stuff. But
Hmm. And
I
now,
think we've covered like the main topic, unless you want to like add the last thing to like what the languages, like what language
I
actually
think
are
we
and their
should,
goal is.
yeah. So like for example, the English language, right? It has 26 alphabet. Its alphabet is consists of 26 letters, which are the symbols that are the base of the language, right? And each of them has their own sound that accompanies with the letters.
Hmm.
Like and then for example, like you've got like binary, which is just a bunch of zeros and ones, right? Now the thing is, if you want to make a language, right, the less symbols you have, the more complicated each like little string is gonna be,
That's
right?
true, exactly, yeah.
So that's why we have like 26, because if we didn't have 26 letters, we just had two letters and we'll just call
Yeah.
them 0
No,
and 1.
because then what you do like they do that in binary as well to express like even like a like the ASCII code of like the letter A or something.
Mhm.
That's like a string of like a it's just like a different like what would you call it? Like a different pattern of zeros and ones. So you just have
Exactly.
to make them more complex and complex. But then again, like it's like a trade-off. Like if you have like a smaller alphabet, the way you make words is going to be more complex, but you have to know less letters. But if you have a longer alphabet, you have to know more letters, and the words will be simpler.
Exactly.
Yeah, and well, I guess that basically covers it,
Covers,
right?
yeah, that
Yeah.
subsection.
So that's like the origins of language, how language is formed. Okay. So let's talk about accents now. I don't really know where to begin,
So
I
but
think I have a good
I
idea,
think
like
if you
just
want basically when we were like coming up with the like kind of like idea for this episode, I was just talking about how like I didn't really I was just stumped and just like frankly like curious just how like the British settlers that came to North America just took their like standard version of English and created their own accent. And I'm
mhm.
pretty sure it's just like a basically it's like a mix of other languages
Yeah,
like
probably native
because yeah there was natives, the French, and even the Spanish, and it just like completely combined and created something else. But it's basically it's like a cultural blend that kind of
yeah.
creates different
I'd say
like
uh
accents.
so an accent primarily, like, okay, let's just if we talk about like the most prominent accents, we can kind of like break those accents down and then kind of see how they actually develop. So like and I haven't like read a study on this, but this is just how I think of it when I hear this question. So for example, like I was watching this TikTok video, right? And there was this person who was probably who was I don't know, I think it was Chinese or Asian, like, or sorry, I don't know, but and no, because someone in the comments said like the reason that she's pronouncing the words differently, like she was singing an English song, right? And someone in the comments said that the reason she's pronouncing the the letter D differently was because like the letter D or something is not as emphasized in Japanese, I think, right?
Or
And
yeah, their native language
yeah,
as
and that I think that's how like something like an accent would develop, because different like phonetics just might not be as prominent in your, I don't know, like your home language, like your base language. And if you're transitioning to a different language, right? If you've been speaking your home language for like 20 years and then you start learning whatever other language, and that language requires a sound that you've never made with before, right? Then obviously you're not going to be able to pronounce it properly, and like it takes a long time to actually develop those kind of sounds, surprisingly so, um with your mouth. So that's
and
why they
that's
kind of,
yeah, I get what you're saying because like accents are just basically like you're taking the like tendencies and like patterns of your like native tongue and applying it to the new language you're
yeah,
learning.
it's like
Like for
your
example,
opinion of the language, or
if
your
you
take on the language.
like in English, for example, like the the word "the" is basically like used like it's basically like the starter of like a lot of things, but in like other languages like French or Spanish, they it's way more complicated, and in German as well. They have many different articles instead of just "the." But like the hardest. thing to pronounce for many non like English speakers is the th sound, and it's like for example, like in their other languages, that doesn't exist, so they'll replace it with like a d or a z, so it won't be the, it'll be duh or za, which just makes it easier for them to basically like I don't know, pronounce things and just speak the language orally because they don't have to, they're just not used to it. And like like for example, also like let's say you're natively French and you're learning English. In French, they don't pronounce the letter H. So like they wouldn't say home, they would just say om because in their language H doesn't
Exactly.
have a sound. And for example, let's say you want to say I worked a lot of jobs in again in their language the s like it doesn't get pronounced either, it's just it ends there, so they would say I worked a lot of job instead of jobs because
Yeah.
that isn't, it's not in their native tongue. And then that kind of develops an like you could kind of call it like a I don't know, like a grammatical accent, but the other accents of like the way like for example like American English compared to British English is very different. I
Hmm.
guess it's also it's basically again like like a grammatical or pronunciation accent, but it's much more extreme than just some like phonetics being different. Like it's like clear as day that they're two different cultures and societies, you could call them, but they are like completely different. And that was like a result of it was not really evolution, but it was just a lot of separation from each other, which created that accent.
So
Like
basically, it's formed of pronunciation.
yeah, and then
Yeah.
that
That's what
pronunciation will
Yeah.
change over time.
accents are.
And then there's something else I wanted to add to that.
Yeah. Hmm.
With like it was to what Johar said when actually it's technically to what both of you said. I mean, it's not really new information, but one of they do this a lot in different like well animes basically, right? Uh, so this is the main character of this one anime that I watch. Her name is her name is Isla, but and that's how it's spelled. It's Isla. So if I was to
Yeah.
speak, I'm an English speaker, right? So for me, it's obviously I'd pronounce
Allah.
it as Isla, right? And most people who watch, I'm pretty
But a
sure,
new English
are
speaker
also
would say
English.
Isla or something, right?
Yeah,
You're
so
trying to say?
that's the interesting part, right? So no, but that's not it. So I would say it as Isla, right? Now, yeah, like you said, someone who speaks English as a newcomer, right, to someone who's learning English as their second language, they would probably pronounce it as Isla, yeah, because of is and then la
Yeah.
is pretty normal, right? But
How do we
in
come up with these
Japanese,
conventions? Yeah.
right, but in Japanese, the actual word, the way you pronounce it in their language is Ira. So it's not
Hmm.
Wait,
ISLA.
there's an
It's
R
basically
sound?
yeah. It's a. It's kind of pronounced like AIRA basically. And
Oh,
then
okay.
so which is really cool because like now you have three different ways of pronouncing the word, even though one is more correct than the other. But
Not
it's cool
none is
because
more correct than the other.
They're just different ways of
well
saying it because of
no,
like
but
based off
like
your
wait,
original
so
your
you don't consider
origin.
the Japanese one more correct because that's where the word was formed. That's why I'm saying like
It was?
that's probably well yeah
Well,
it's
no, it's
it's formed
just.
like that word specific or her name specifically is formed off of
But
thing
that
like
that doesn't make any,
Japanese
because by
language
that logic, then a bunch of oohs and ahs and grunts would be the correct way of speaking.
yeah
There's no correct way of saying anything. It's just that
Exactly.
if like some certain pronunciation has been normalized, so people call that I don't know correct or the proper way to do it.
Yeah.
You can still
I could
pronounce
see
something
that.
very
The
wrong and
most,
still get
yeah.
the message across, which is the point of communication to get a message across. But
Well,
we made
regardless,
it more like proper and stuff. But
yeah,
I
yeah.
guess just how that's just how it
But
is.
It's just
But
more
yeah, but
efficient now.
hmm
my point is like that. There's like three different ways of pronouncing it based off three different accents and three different cultures.
Hmm.
Or well,
yeah,
That's the point.
yeah,
Yeah, that's a good.
yeah.
I think that's a very significant like part of language that is to be talked about, because the fact that that exists is like, first of all, why do we come up with these kind of conventions for, like, for example, the English language? Anyways, like I was watching a video, and I don't remember the examples that the dude mentioned in the video, but he was just talking about different words who and the consonant in front of the word, right? It was like and like, for example, maybe the word started with an R and the other one started with a P. um Even though they were essentially the same spelling, their pronunciations were very different, especially in the vowel articulation, and that kind of like displays a significant point. Like, and that too, and like, why do we come up with the fact? And as I'm talking about this, I'm coming up with a theory, right? And like, cause so we have a set of letters, like, I don't know, let's just say the only thing I can think of right now, I'm just making up an example with the words that don't exist. But let's just say Tuesday and and let's start and say Views Day. Okay, actually, those are two.
Mhm.
Yeah, whatever. Now those are spelled pretty differently, you'd say, because view is I mean VIEWS, right? And then
Mhm.
day, and then Tuesday, right? But even though they sound virtually the same, they're completely different in spelling, and that raises a significant point. And I think that the basis for spelling things that way is because originally in the language, um, for example, Tuesday and Tuesday were pronounced differently, and they were efficient. I mean, not efficient. They were corresponding to their spelling, like how you'd expect the word to
Yeah.
sound. But then, as like things progress, right, they found it more easy to just simply, like, I don't know, I guess rhyme the two words for whatever reason, for whatever reasons of communication. And as a result, even though the spelling of the word remained the same, um, pronunciation change. Pronunciation changed from however Tuesday was supposed to be pronounced to how it's pronounced now. I think, or I don't know. It's just the
The
theory I
same
came up
thing
with right now.
happened with the or the, like it used to always be the, but then or the, but then as things got more like casual and more people started learning, people just started using the
Yeah,
instead. But
as it was more
that's just
convenient.
another way of like language kind of like evolving. But like you said, like some languages can have a very, I don't know, like very interesting ways of like their mechanics. Like I would say English is very like, I don't know, it's not as structured in some aspects as other languages. We've said this before, but if you come across a word in English you haven't seen, you have a chance of not like pronouncing it the
Knowing
correct
it,
way
yeah.
at all, even if you're like a native English speaker. Like
That's just
if
how the
you take
language is for some
like the
reason.
sound, like the, for example, like though, thorough, through, cough. They're spelled very similar, but the pronunciation is very different. So, and the only way to learn it is just basically just to read, hear, and speak the language. You can't really just learn the mechanics because there is no mechanics. It's just different words have different spellings. Just
Yeah.
that's just how they are. But
As opposed to
like,
different languages where if you see a spelling of the word, chances are you'll know how to pronounce it because it follows the same conventions and mechanics of
yeah,
this
it's
other words.
Yeah, English is such a
That's
complicated
why,
language.
yeah, that's why
For
English is by like technicality the most complicated, complex language. Even though
I don't think it's
people
the
would digress.
most complex.
No, it
no, but
is. It is.
Really?
bias
It
like
literally
conventions
is.
and stuff.
Search it
I
up.
don't
Like
know because I haven't like
because like I mean, yeah, in English, yeah, there's no like gender to verbs, but or gender to words. There's just one like definite.
yeah, it's
But
so
it's
complicated
the
because
s-
like
the fact that the mechanics don't translate to the pronunciation is very. It just makes it much harder.
A
Like
lot
you
of the
just have to.
language just kind of seems like intuitive, like it just sounds right. If it sounds right, then that's
Yeah,
probably how it's
because
supposed to
we've
be.
spoken it for so long. But if someone's learning it, it's
Yeah.
very difficult to like
No,
kind of
I'm
how
saying
to
that's how the
articulate
language
a
was
word.
also developed, probably too.
I think like it's also so complicated because like literally just for like the reason you said, Veer, like how are you supposed to tell the difference? Like say for the example, the name Zoe, you can spell it Zoey and Zoe with the well basically just Zoe, and they're both pronounced Zoe. And then
Yeah.
you have the word, you have the name Joey is Joey, and
And
then
then
you
J
have
O
the
E
name
is Joe.
Joe.
Joe,
Yeah,
yeah, it doesn't make,
like
and it's
it,
not the J doing anything. That's just how we pronounce it. That's just
yeah,
a convention.
it's just not consistent at all. Like, and it's really annoying. And it's such a complicated language to learn for second. I don't know, English is second language.
Imagine if the person learning it, like they come from a language that doesn't use the Roman alphabet. Then they have to learn the whole alphabet, learn all,
Yeah,
and learn the conventions on top of
Yeah.
that.
That's why for
That's just
English
much
speakers,
harder.
because you guys were searching up one day, like,
Hmm.
what is the most complicated language to speak,
Hmm.
and it was
Yeah.
Chinese. But then you read later on that it was the most complicated language for English speakers to learn.
Yeah, it
And
literally
yeah,
depends. Like
yeah.
Mandarin can be hard for English speakers, but if someone's natively like spoken Mandarin,
yeah.
then it's completely
But I
different.
think
It's
Yeah,
just
it
based on
depends
what
on
objectively
you
where
you
you're
learn
brought
can
already.
up.
objectively you can say that English is the most complex language because so much of it is just contextual, even with pronunciation and all that. And like so much of it is just simply from speaking the language that like it's kind of impossible to just learn everything. You just have, like Vera said, you just have to speak the language to learn it. Like
Yeah,
you just
it's
can't.
it's completely, and it's also completely based off where you're brought up. Like my parents were they're from India, so obvious, and our main language is Gujarati. So when I was growing up, that was like the main language I spoke. I don't even think I like properly knew English back then. And then later, I started like I think preschool basically, and then I started to actually we got taught in preschool. You get taught, it's basically daycare, but you get taught
Mhm.
like I don't know, the alphabet or small like word structure, like very basic structure. I think they called it phonics.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah, I learned all of that, and then I became much better at English. And I kind of well, not I didn't forget everything, but I just would rather speak in English and Gujarati now because it's just easier for me. You know,
Some
Mhm.
it's
languages,
my
if
first
you like don't
language.
like the mainly languages that are like originate from Asia, like where a lot of our thing parents and ancestors are from, if you don't like practice those languages, it's really hard to kind of keep up with them because the way that the alphabet and everything is structured, it's it's way more complex than I don't know, like European or like yeah, European languages. But like for example, I was watching a video on someone, basically they went to China to learn Mandarin for like 6 months to study abroad, and they stopped practicing it for a while and they completely forgot everything just because of the complexity of the language. But they remembered Spanish, English, and other things as well, just because those
Mhm.
languages are just, I would guess, more, they're easier to like retain information, easier to remember
Based off the
than
Latin
other
language,
language. Yeah.
like Latin. So
Yeah, it's because it has to do with like I don't know. There's just a lot more things to learn. That's
English,
basically
French,
it.
and Spanish, yeah, they kind of follow like not in terms of grammar, but just in terms of the letters themselves. They're pretty
Honestly,
similar.
I think like I hated French for a while, but I think French was actually such an easy language to learn.
It is a
Yeah,
I
very
think
like
I think I
like
only hated learning
that's
French because
true.
of the teachers. That's it.
Like again, I have to learn French right now because it's mandatory for my school, but it's not actually as I can't compare it to English because I don't remember learning English. It's just something that's been with me forever, you know? I
for
think you guys
English.
might
You
feel
don't
that
like
way too.
you don't need to like like for
No,
English
no,
you don't need like a
I'm
teacher.
saying
All
that
you do
because
for English,
I'm saying that because English is our it's basically like our mother tongue or our main
yeah.
language.
No,
So
I
I
I
I don't think none of us remember like learning it
I
because
remember
it was
perfectly how I
just
learned it. Like and I know it was TVO Kids. Like literally, it was TVO Kids, and that's how
TV is watching like television or any
TV
videos.
is
That's
how
just
you
really
learn
good.
language, and like for
It's so
English
useful.
especially. Like I didn't learn from like they put me in or I think it was ESL for like a little bit because I came here in like kindergarten, and so like I literally like but I picked up the language in like a couple months. So like all I did was just like because all you had to do was correspond the images, whatever they were talking about, to and like I could tell from like their facial whatever they facial expressions that like if they were smiling and then they'd say smile or something, and then like if they showed like a red crayon and then they say red, like like some stuff like that is how
Yeah.
you would pick up the language. And English is the best language for that because a lot of other languages you should like study like the structure and like kind of the logic of it, but with English it's just like intuitive, like it's like contextual, so you gotta just hear the language and speak. And that's why I feel like TVO Kids was that's what made me learn like English. And I think that's how like
I think a lot of I don't know, for me, while when I was learning French, I just had it this semester, but I attempted to learn using, like songs and modern music, but the reason I found that to be very difficult because music incorporates a lot of slang, and it like for example, if you take like if you're gonna say I am going to, a song will just say it won't say all that. It will just say I'm a, and that like
yeah.
cuts off a lot of the structure and it makes it much more. You can think it's simpler, but it's actually more complicated to get your head around like stuff like that. And again, for example, like in French, they'll cut off both sides of the vowel like that. If a verb is
Yeah.
ending in a vowel, they'll cut that off, and the other one, the other word after that, they'll cut that off as well and shorten everything as well, which makes it more complicated to like I don't know, like listen and stuff.
Another like cool thing I remember is the language can also be based off what words you emphasize in it. So there's this
Yeah.
cool video I saw.
Oh
Basically, the
yeah, yeah.
phrase I didn't say. So basically, the phrase is I didn't say we should kill, and if you emphasize a different word in each
It means a
in
completely
that
different
sentence,
meaning. Yeah.
yeah. So like for example, I'll start like with the first one. What was it? Yeah, it was I didn't say we should kill him. So it goes. It goes,
I didn't.
I didn't say we should kill him, which means like someone else said they
Yeah.
should
Yeah.
kill whoever, right? Or if we go with I don't know,
I
the last
didn't
one.
say
I
we
didn't
should kill him.
I don't get that one, honestly.
No, it means
No,
like
you're saying
it just
you're
means
saying like
I
I
didn't say we should
didn't.
kill him. Like
It means what you think it should be. Like that's kind of like
yeah,
the normal way of
Ah,
emphasizing it. I
yeah,
didn't.
right.
that's how you would
I
emphasize it
did.
by
And
default.
then there's a I didn't say we should kill him, and then
So
I didn't say
that's
we
saying you.
should kill
Yeah.
them. Yeah. I didn't say we should
Yeah.
kill him, and I didn't say we should kill him. It all
Yeah.
has
That's
completely
weird.
different meaning, which makes it even worse. And it's so much. That's why I feel like when you're learning, it's so much easier when learning from like an actual person who speaks the language. For me
Mhm.
personally, because
Yeah, that's
then I
true.
can I can understand what the person is saying easier by looking at the way they like the way they say the words and the way they emphasize certain words, like that example basically.
Another I think like if you were to okay, I think we should all briefly talk about like just brainstorm real quick like if you were to make a language, how would it be? Because I think that's important
I
to
mean,
just think
like
about.
I have
technically,
no
like
idea.
wait, before we do that, do you think making a new language today would be efficient, or would it just be like?
Nah, not at
I
all.
don't think it would make sense. You know,
It will
At this
happen.
point,
It would happen
there's too.
eventually though.
it'll happen, yeah. But I feel like at this point, the way languages are just going to continuously be created is the same way as like in the example in the beginning, how they're like two different islands and they speak. It'll
Yeah,
always be
it
very
kind of comes
similar.
naturally. Like if you look at
Like
English in like Shakespearean times, it's much different to now. Even
yeah.
though no one's explicitly tried to change English, it just happens.
I don't think like
Yeah, I'm
No,
saying like
but technically
completely
it's still
creating
called
one is
English.
not going
But
to make
if
it.
you change, if you want to make a completely different language, I
because
think what
English
I
was
would
not
do,
the first language, yet it is the most
it was
popular
not.
language, right? So
Yeah, it's just because a lot of countries speak it, and the British Empire was
yeah.
big at one point. So
So if that's the case, right, then I don't think it's outlandish to think that there should be a new like essentially like worldwide like universal language. I
I
don't
don't
think
think,
that
yeah, I don't think there should be. I
no
don't
no
think
I
there
don't
should
think
be.
it's outlandish to think so because I think it's a very I think it I mean I think we can still make communication more efficient.
What do you mean? How would you do that? How would you go about doing that?
Do you mean like by fixing all the stupid grammar rules and like the
Not
way
even no not even that
Yeah,
like
you
I
can like
the way it's
fix
are
that because
pronounced?
it's kind of ingrained in people now. But
no but I mean it'll like not for the current generation, right? Like as more people come
oh, for this future, okay.
for because
Yeah,
like that's
it's gonna
literally how
change
languages are,
eventually.
right? Because even even though there was a English wasn't the first language, people speak English, right? Not the first language that ever was,
Hmm.
Yeah,
and
like
that's
my,
just
my
because
parents my parents know almost the same amount of English as I do. But the way I speak English to you guys versus them is completely different.
yeah.
Like
Wait,
when I'm speaking to
like
them, it's more
the way you
formal and
speak to them,
calm.
like what's different? Like you're,
No, just
what's
like
different?
if I'm speaking to you, usually or like it would usually be in like like just our like the vocabulary we
Simple.
use.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, it'll
Yeah.
be a lot more simpler and it'll be based a lot more off
You
slang.
wouldn't
But if I
be
speak to my
so
parents, they're not gonna
conscious about
understand
it.
that. So yeah, it just unconsciously I like kind of like switch halfway through. It's funny because there's this one time I had to keep running back and forth between like our Discord call and I was helping my parents with something. So I kept switching like the way I
Yeah.
talked in between like the way I would talk to you guys versus more formally, and it sounded so funny because I remember I was recording something too the whole time, and when I
Mhm.
was listening back to it, it sounded so stupid. Like it
Yeah,
just me switching
it's
back
kind
and
of like
forth.
you're changing personalities, you know?
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
that's exactly what it sounds like. It sounds like two different people. Like it's like the same person is speaking, but at the same time, two different people are
Same
speaking.
exact language and same probably even like
Yeah.
very similar word conventions, but just
Even the pronunciation is
yeah,
the
it's
same,
just the
but
pronunci no 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 no.
it's
Well
like
the
I don't know. I feel
pronunciation
like
it's
it's
just the emphasis of which words, I
everything's the
think.
same except like the way you emphasize words and where you put your like emotion into it, kind
Yeah.
of. Maybe there's like a few words here and there that are just different because of like I don't know your friend group slang, but it's basically
No, actually, to be
it's
honest, for
very
me,
similar, but it's much different.
uh, I I don't really speak that way. Like, no, I don't really switch between like the way I speak anymore. To be honest,
I don't do it in front of my parents, but like obviously if it's something formal, I won't say like I won't really make contractions that much. The
Yeah.
way I make analogies would be different. Like I wouldn't say like I wouldn't say like at all. I would things like that. There's small things
Oh,
that
really?
change, but
I still say like all the time.
really,
I try not to say
Like
like.
I'm literally doing it right now. It's just something that happens. I can't not do it. But
like
it's just, see what I mean?
if I have to present something, I'll probably use like a I don't know like a more professional or academic set of
Oh,
Yeah.
vocabulary. Like I can do it naturally,
Yeah.
but the words are just longer and they're just like more takes more
Exhausting.
effort to say them. So
no,
just
when I'm presenting something, I usually make a script and I make sure it's as professional as possible
yeah,
so
that's the
that I
best way to
don't.
do it because
Yeah,
naturally you're gonna either repeat something or say like or thing or
Yeah.
yeah.
that's just how we've
Honestly, I
spoken.
don't
But
think saying in a presentation is a big deal. It
Mm.
makes it seem
really,
more casual, and that's
no, but
okay.
it
I feel
depends
like
what
it's
you're
important to
doing.
like
Like
catch your
if
breath
it's
in
for
it.
like
So,
if you're doing something for like I don't know your science class and you're like I don't know you built something compared to
I think
if you're doing an English seminar, it's two
depends how
different.
you
It's
say
really different.
like if it's like so anyways like like something like that,
yeah, if you keep
That's
stuttering
just
like
like
that,
a
that's
that's
just
just kind of like it
that
just
that tells
shows that
something to
you're
your
unprepared.
audience. Yeah.
yeah. Like I'm saying, like if I was to like make a product and advertise it, I probably because that just comes off as inconfident and like no one would want to buy it then. But if I'm
Hmm.
talking about like a discovery I made or something like that, then it would be a lot less like formal and a lot more casual. I feel like for me.
Hmm.
I don't know.
You,
I don't even like yeah. Even if you're no like actually never mind. I was gonna say even if you're presenting something like a product or something, it's okay. But I actually don't for stuff you're trying to sell, you want to seem as confident as possible in your idea. So like it's a lot more different than
And again, I'm pretty like the way to like I see like to relate. I think the best way to relate to what we've said in this episode, but the way you emphasize things can again make you sound more confident. Like I don't know if you emphasize your personal, like like your I guess you would call them like pronouns like it's me, I, like I built, I made, I did, things like that. That's a better way to market yourself than if you emphasize other words. But that's just the way we do it in English. Maybe in other languages it's
Mhm.
different, but that's what I see like to the method or strategy to I don't know
Yeah.
hold or build confidence when you're speaking or while you're speaking.
Also, like, oh my god, I just said like, in
yeah
Like
sequence with each
exactly.
other.
See, you can't
it's
not do it. It just comes out
it's
naturally.
really hard to.
Yeah.
So, oh god. Okay. Anyways, and now
Actually, wait.
You
I
were
can't
about to
think of
say you were
anything.
about to say
See, I
right?
did say I can't think of saying anything but like and
See,
because now my mind's drawing
saying
a blank.
as well, saying and I feel like that's such a good transition. I don't know
Yeah,
why. Something
I know.
about it just makes it feel like such a
It
good
feels like a
transition word.
period, like
Like
literally like a period
it
in
it
verbally.
feels so natural to speak. You wouldn't write it down obviously, but
Yeah,
It's like the
but it
full
feels so
stop,
like
like
casual and
it feels
common,
so
you know?
like exactly.
it just
But
Yeah.
stops
like
the sentence
again,
and starts a new one. I feel like
yeah.
so. Anyways, just going a little bit of going back to the language itself, right? Especially like alphabets and stuff. So, because the reason we have language like verbally, right, is because first of all, it's a lot easier because you can process a lot of. Actually, no, that's not even true. There's a reason why
What do
we
you mean?
condense a lot of information into books because we can read books a lot quicker. But like
Yeah, because
it
if it wasn't a book, what do you
mhm.
expect like the author to do to just to tell the story like
Yeah,
in
yeah,
every
but
single
and
paragraph?
also like, but the reason we don't have books instead of just like, the reason we don't just show each other like words, like just like draw them
Yeah.
out and then show each other, because that would be insanely inefficient, right? Rather than so like for the sake of conversation or just communicating to another human directly, that's why like we say stuff verbally and then
No, no,
process
no.
it.
But you know what the interesting part is?
What?
That's literally what texting is.
Yeah, that's what
What do
texting
you mean?
is. Yeah, it's
Just
just
showing people
showing
words.
words. Yeah, and it's so
Oh
much
yeah.
quicker. I mean, if you can
Have you
type
guys ever
things out
tried
quickly.
describing a meme?
What?
Have you guys ever tried describing like meme templates? Like you can
That's
oh dude,
I don't
it
even know how to
sounds so
describe a meme. You can't.
you
you
can.
can't.
It's
Yeah.
How
so
are you supposed to communicate it in any
No, you
language?
can
How are you
you
supposed to?
can literally you can
because
communicate it
it's
down to the perfect detail, but the thing about
but it sounds
memes
so
is
stupid.
yeah, it won't be funny.
That's the
Yeah.
thing. Yeah, it won't be as funny as actually seeing it because it just sounds dumb. Like you're
It can
basically
literally be. It
describing a
can be a video.
picture.
It can be a noise. It can be a picture. It can be a word. It can be a person.
How would you describe a tsunami Actually, never mind. I
A
just
big wave.
Yeah. No, but like
you can't
for
get
like
the
memes, right?
yeah.
It's like when you're describe the whole point of a meme is to be funny, and when you're describing it, when like I don't know, like
It
let's say
loses all
you're talking about the
comedy.
text, yeah, it loses all interest,
It's
and
like,
all
how
of a
would you
sudden you're just
describe a
like,
big green dude busting out of his house? Uh,
Shrek.
I mean, yeah, Shrek. Yeah, exactly.
I was
But
thinking Hulk.
Shrek sounds so
Bruh.
much in our
See,
language.
see what I mean though? Like you can
It
never
sounds
be
better.
sure.
It sounds better.
Frankly, I don't know how you derive Hulk from me. Okay, you know what? Never
You
mind.
said big green guy, and I
Wait,
was like, oh, Hulk.
okay.
I watched the
Let's say
Avengers
let's say
recently,
there's like
so
a very complicated word that you have to describe,
yeah.
and it's really hard to describe it without using like a root of that word. Like for example,
Ooh.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Like
organization. To be
instructional, but
organized.
without you don't know what instruct is.
Yeah.
Oh, I
So if
see.
they did that, the
Yeah.
thing is, it was probably very complicated for like I don't know what you'd call them, the authors of dictionaries. What would you call them? Like
Just
the
Writer? I don't know. Are they
who
even writers? Like,
if you were, it's really hard to just you can't describe someone something without knowing what they already know.
yeah,
yeah.
exactly. That's
I
why
mean,
language
you
is so
could.
complicated because
No.
it only applies to the people who know what the language is.
That's why I think paper dictionaries are very inefficient because there's only one instance of the word and one definition. But on the internet, you can literally just like Control F or Command F a word on like any like
Hmm.
forum or I don't know social media page. You can see like countless different use cases for it and videos
Yeah,
of people using it. But that's
Yeah,
just like the
that is
repertoire
really
of things
cool.
that we have now. But
and so like the number of words like okay, so you think okay, for example, I'm gonna go back to binary because it's a very easy example, right?
Hmm.
With binary, you have um the amount of combinations you can have for binary is 2 to the power of however many like okay no let me go to Morse code actually. So like a Morse is dots and dashes, right? So
hmm
that's basically like that's kind of like binary, right? It's just 2 states.
I
yeah,
think Morse code
there's
is based off binary.
two letters
No,
of
no,
the
no,
uh,
alphabet
binary is based off
basically.
Morse code actually. Well, not
oh, other way around. But the one of yeah, they're
Long,
uh
basically the
short,
same
or
thing.
01, same thing.
yeah, exactly. So the number of combinations you can have in Morse code is like so they have letters corresponding to a sequence of dots and dashes, right? And since there's 2 states and you need well how you think first of all there's 26 letters in the alphabet, but in reality you need more than that because you need numbers as well. You need like period, you need a comma, like and
Yeah,
like it's like if because Morse code was developed for like no, it was not developed for military cases. It was actually a very communication tool. But yeah, so let's just say you need 64 characters, right? Now 64 is like what 2 to the power of 7 to the
I
32 is 2 to the
32
power
to
of
the power 5.
6. Yeah, so
Yeah,
yeah,
2 to the power of 6 is 64. Yeah.
it is yeah exactly. But
So
then
wait, are you saying that? So
no, no
the
there's a point that I'm trying to get. So there's but now with English let's just focus on letters, right? There's 26
mhm,
and the number of combinations is let's just say the longest English word we'd ever need would be 15 letters long, right? So now
yeah,
we
for
have so
example.
there the number of words you think you could have is 26 to the power of 15, right?
hmm
But when it comes to an actual pronunciate like putting those words into like pronunciation and using them, right? Like for example, the letter A, right? Like no, okay, let me if you can't have just a bunch of consonants in a word, right? Like it just wouldn't make sense when you're trying to speak that. And that's exactly the point. Like the fact that we came up with the like just languages and like uh damn, sometimes this just happens to my brain, bro.
No,
What
it
did you forget
happens
what you were
because
trying to say?
yeah, because what you're trying to articulate might be like abstract, so you kind of
It's very
there's no
like
structure to it. So you can go in like 50 different routes,
no, I'm
or
just keep
not
getting
50, infinite
distracted.
different routes. But
You guys ever like have like a train of thought and then not forget it, but that you have like half of a train of thought, and
And it's
then
just gone.
you think like by
the
saying
train
it,
of
it's
thought
just gonna
switches
come to you.
rails. Yes, basically.
N- No, but like, but like you think like as you're saying it, the rest is just gonna come to you, and it doesn't. And now you just
A lot of
forget
times
what you
it
were gonna
happens.
say.
I every time I ever need to say something, like it just starts off as like a little like light bulb, and then it turns into like a a big room of lights.
Okay.
Okay, that was a.
The light bulb.
What an
You're saying
analogy.
your one idea can,
It
like, I
just
don't know,
multiplies because like as I'm
multiplies
thinking,
into different
I
ideas.
just see like a bunch of like dots between all these things, and I'm like, oh, okay, so that's what I can.
I wonder if that's how Smoke Perp was when he was freestyling.
Hey, a lot of ideas.
Lots of ideas, but he seemed to forget everything through.
Is more how useful but or like is.
Hmm?
But are like?
But like, you know what I'm saying? The two words but like,
Yeah. How
they can
useful they
literally
are,
be you can use them to contradict something, to add something to something, to
and
add
relate
something
something
to
to
something.
something like.
Yeah,
And
there's so many different ways you can use them.
I think the reason the word like
Crazy.
is used so much, especially in our current generation, is because like just like the amount of information that we're trying to convey is
Like,
improportional to the amount of information we have in our brains. Like we're trying to describe
Yeah.
something and we just don't know it. So we're just like so you know
You're
what the
like,
color
and
green
then you try to think of
it's
an
like
example.
grass. Like I
yeah.
mean like you know
No,
what I'm saying?
no, but that's
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 actually
the normal use of like. You can say, "Oh, it's like grass," but
yeah,
you can also use
that's a good
like in
use,
different
but
ways. But no, the thing is, imagine someone's trying to learn English and they see the word like means to, have like
like
a, I
someone,
don't know, like a
yeah.
like a passion for something or someone,
Oh.
and then they or like again, I'm using like again. I'm kidding. I'm not
I'm
even
like
kidding. If
really
you take
smart, like you know.
like or but or is not a word, but if you take that out of like someone's vocabulary today, it would be much harder to communicate.
They should add the to the dictionary.
They will
That's
eventually. They will eventually.
definitely a word. Like at this point, it should just be considered a transition.
I'm gonna hold on, I'm gonna search up the uses of like
What
from
in it? f- Like see what I mean? Dude,
Oh
I
yeah,
like
I
can't
just
not
remembered.
do this.
Okay,
Oxford language
I just
definitions.
remember
Wait,
what
do
I
you
was
mean
trying to say.
from
Like
yo,
how
what is
much
wrong
it's
with
like
us?
how
Bro,
it's
we're out of sync, dude.
you can't. It's so hard to
This sounds so
the
fake,
uses
but it's
use case
not.
of like it's at an all-time high right now
I'm not
Makes
surprised.
sense.
since forever.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
I
And it's
like you,
probably not
Juliet.
even the meaning they think like is. It definitely means because of like the like we're talking.
It's just, but
I
yeah,
think
exactly.
I can't do this anymore, man.
If
I
I'm
can't
not even kidding.
articulate words.
The definition of like has so many different. It's a preposition, a conjunction, a noun, an adjective, an adverb.
Preposition, yeah.
There's so many
I don't know, man. I can't articulate whenever I'm speaking the
like.
word like.
Do you think they have other like again?
Yo,
Do you think they have other things similar to like in other languages? They
yeah,
probably do.
definitely. For all I know,
Yeah.
it's probably just a translated version of like
Like
I don't know. Like in Japan, they probably have whatever the Japanese word for like is.
No, it's
Whatever.
like
not. It's
no
not.
no, but usually
No, I'm just saying. Like
in
it
like
could be
many
anything.
languages they'll take the verb of to like and make like the
I
non-verb of it or something. I don't know what
I
you would
think in
call it.
Japan it would be ne, like right, like ne.
Oh,
What is that?
also right.
I
Like
don't
a
know
lot of
what
people
Yeah,
use
that's right.
right,
Yeah,
means.
it's like
right?
you get what I'm saying,
Right?
right?
Yeah.
You know,
Oh, I don't think
It's like a
that's not
confirmation. Like, do you get it?
to the degree that like is
it's
used.
not to the
But no,
degree, but it's
but
pretty
still,
Right? But right, it's used a
like
lot.
is used
Yeah,
like a lot. Like is used like a lot.
like
Yeah.
like
is used
really,
like a
bro.
lot. Ooh.
It is. What do you mean? It is.
No, oh, okay,
Anyway,
it's a joke. Okay, I just remember the
I'm
point I was trying to say before that I forgot. And okay, I'll let you
yeah.
continue after this. But okay, I was saying right, you can't even though you have like whatever 26 to the power of maybe 15, right? You don't actually have all of those combinations of the words because you could have like the letter L, right? That could be one combination, but obviously that doesn't. You like how are you supposed to turn that into a word? Like it doesn't even have like a vowel in it. You just say lip, like not even l, right? Because it's just a consonant. It just defines a sound after or before a vowel. So in reality, even we've taken these structures of languages and the way we've corresponded them to vowels and then like match them up to symbols and signals and then cut it down by making sure that each vowel and each consonant is paired up properly and like in a and with like and they're so complex too because a bunch of vowels makes or consonants makes a completely different sound like ch is ch, right? Like you'd never think that, but there it is. And yeah, that was
Nice.
a
That's
Yeah,
gave
but that made
information.
sense. Yeah.
I understand what you're saying, but
Yeah.
like,
like you get
Okay,
what I'm saying.
I
but
can't do
like,
this anymore, man.
Did I say like?
I'm
you
wait,
said
You're
wait,
like again quite a bit. You said
really?
you
like.
said it a lot, but it's not like yeah, I see what I mean. You can't help it; it just comes out.
It just
But
happens.
anyways, unless anyone has anything else to add, we are at 50 minutes.
Oh,
I had
okay.
a
Yeah,
feeling.
this was fun. This episode was very fun. Mainly, kind of, I
Yeah,
don't know why, it was just a
like
lot
it
of
was
I
just
energy.
like
didn't.
good.
I kind of
Yeah,
don't want to upload this episode because our
our
as if we
articulation
had
was
as
garbage.
if we had any image to begin with. But if there's anyone who doesn't know us and then they hear this, they'd start off thinking like, oh, these guys actually sound kind of smart, you know, like they seem a little bit sophisticated. And then they hear this episode, they're like, oh, never mind. Let's watch Joe
But like,
Rogan.
no, but the but like usage is very true, and
Yeah,
we need to, it doesn't have enough
not very
recognition. We
refined
need to
of
give
us
it some.
though.
If anyone
Anyways,
doesn't believe us at this point that the word like is just the exact way we've described it, I think we've shown enough proof without even trying to show proof of how the amount of times that I couldn't articulate sentences because I kept saying like while trying to explain what the word like means. I I, I don't know.
Yeah, you can
I,
describe
I
without
I
using like.
I think that proves our point basically. And yeah, with that
I can
being
describe
said,
like without like.
I'm unable to articulate sentences anymore, and we're past 50 minutes. So thank you guys for watching. Um, our social medias are in the description.
It is.
Bye.
Bye
That was a
bye.
sick outro.